Hey, I'm Chris, VR designer on The Expanse, and I asked the community, how did you first hear about The Expanse? So I'm going to be looking at your replies. How did I first hear about The Expanse? Well, I worked on season 1, so that was my first exposure to the show. And the books. I read the books after that. So I'm going to first look at the quote tweets here. So, is it sci-fi I'm in? Replies, my weekly Shohreh Google search. That's really good. Firelord Vips says, my dad sat me down and made me watch episode 1 to 4. You have a very good father. Useless lesbian author Morgan says, I trust at Nuka Pop Rocket with my life and also TV recommendations. That's great. Bobby and Drummer's Wife. I think I legit Google sci-fi shows with diverse female characters, and back then season 1 was about to come up, although I didn't properly watch till 2 years later. Shame on me. It's okay, you still got into it, and there was way more seasons for you to watch after that. Review on NPR. Watch the first episode in real time, being a fan from the start. Wicked, you're a OG fan, you know what I mean? That's awesome, Brad. My roommate drunkenly threatened to beat my ass if I did not watch it with her. I seen a little while she had the first run through. Wow, that's great. You know, if someone's not going to be a fan of The Expanse, the best thing to do is drunkenly threaten them, and then they will watch it and become a fan. The Expanse propagandists put in shows like Mass Effect. You know, I really liked the first 2 Mass Effects games. I was pretty young when they came out, and I loved them. The space exploration in Mass Effects 1 and 2 were amazing. All right, so now I'm going to start looking at the regular replies. Here's Joe T. My friends in Toronto wanted to watch it when it first came out. We watched it religiously, binged repeats seasons for the past few years, and eventually got through all the books. An obsession was born and lives on. Awesome to see you again, Joe T. And Wicked. That seems awesome. And then Kova stumbled upon it while browsing Prime. That's really good. So you got exposed to it via Amazon Prime. Wicked. So Luna saw a preview for it in Sci-Fi and thought it looked good. Found out about the actual books well into season 1 of the show. Yeah, so when we were first on Sci-Fi, I guess people who have the Sci-Fi network on cable in the US would get exposed to it right from season 1. I mean, they could have seen it season 1, 2, or 3 because it was on Sci-Fi at that time. So James Holden says, is that how you call the events that happened after the Canterbury received a distress signal? If so, we've received a distress signal. There was an IO9 article years back highlighting Leviathan wakes that I swear said something about alien vomit zombies, which obviously meant I had to read it. And I've been hooked to the books and show ever since. That is really cool. The fact that it was an article about the novels was awesome. You know what? If something says alien vomit zombies, it's something you want to get into for sure. So I saw a trailer for it on Amazon and it looked cool. I put it in my queue for later, and that's where it sat for a few years. One day, this past December actually, I decided I was ready for it. Now I'm deeply in love with it. It is my fave. It's my fave. Ramon Rubin. It was on my Netflix recommendation. I really liked the first few episodes, so I kept watching, although I only got hooked midway through the second season. Cool, so then Ramon was probably outside of the US and Canada because it was on Netflix, because it was on Netflix internationally from season 1 to 3, I think. Under Scale 777 says, I found it on Amazon Prime and was immediately hooked. Now I'm reading the books, and I love them even more. I really wish they weren't canceling the show. We're not really canceling it, but okay. I'm much worried they're going to rush through the story, and the series deserves so much more. Yeah, so you found it on Amazon Prime, and it's unfortunate. I wouldn't really call it a cancellation. I think it's done its course for now. Like, we'll see what happens with if they decide to do something with the later books, but I wouldn't say cancellation. That's kind of a harsh word. All right, so Artsy Foxo said, I saw a bit of the show, then I started to run back to see where it came from, and now I'm interested in buying the books. Yeah, definitely get into the books. The books are good. They're really good. Smoky Doodles says, watching a commercial on the Sci-Fi channel. Oh, nice. So yeah, you must have got exposed to it from the early days. The Kingwinner just discovered it on Netflix while looking for a good sci-fi show. Wicked. Okay, so this is Robin McPherson. A friend was a huge fan of the books, recommended the series when it was announced. Watched the first episode and immediately bought the first book, been in love since. Wicked. So yeah, that's word of mouth sometimes will go around and get you into a new series. Warpig says, I saw the cover of the DVD on the first season in a surviving Blockbuster here in Australia. What? About 2-3 years ago, they have a Blockbuster in Australia that was around 2 or 3 years ago. That's crazy. Wait, I was in Australia not too long ago. Damn, I would have loved to go into it. I wonder, that is actually freaking epic. Wow. Love the art, love the sci-fi, so I picked it up and started watching it, and have been watching the show ever since. That is so crazy to think about, that you saw The Expanse, or the DVD cover, and just liked the cover, but it was in a Blockbuster in Australia. Wow, that's actually really impressive. Valentine says, stumbled upon it just after season 3 when it was released on Netflix. Cool. So we have another person that was found on Netflix. So Congo says, IO9 article after season 2, never watched an entire series of anything in a row. It was glorious. So this is Osk. I remember seeing the previews on Sci-Fi and thought it looked like a good series. Never watched it until last year. Now it's my favorite show ever. I hope there's more after season 6. A video game would also be dope. Daniel says, I heard advertisements it was coming out and I missed the start of season 1. Picked it up during CQB, which is arguably one of the best realistic space battles. Nice. Carl's Webs, nice seeing you again. I read the books. When I heard the Sci-Fi was picking up, I'm like, this can't be good in spite of Sci-Fi. It was amazing. Yeah, so especially because for sci-fi shows, we don't have that much budget when compared to, like, I don't know, like The Mandalorian or Game of Thrones or something. So it's good that it turned out good, even from the beginning. Laura says, 3 years ago, I asked my partner, what sci-fi do you think I should read? And he said, I think you'll like The Expanse. Lots of good political intrigue going on. Nice. So you got in through the books. Cool. Through your partner. Wicked. So Jesse, aka Bizzle, says, desperate for a post Battlestar Galactica sci-fi. Didn't like it, then liked it a little, then read it, then loved it, then went back to the show and loved it. Cool. Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit to get people into the show. I just feel like there's a lot of world to build. There's a lot of world building. Yeah, but I think by season 2, if you're into the show, by season 2, you're going to be hooked completely all the way through. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Ursk Novik says, a friend recommended it to me. I ignored him for the longest time until one day I was so bored that not even watching paint dry would do. So I decided to give it a spin. The first season was not truly my cup of tea, but everything else made me a diehard fan. That's amazing. Cool. Yeah. I mean, it's season 1 of any show really is sometimes a struggle to get people into or to establish everything. I feel like TV shows usually flourish in their second or third seasons when you have a lot of world building that's already established. This is Paula. It says, through my mother of demons, Anna Banana Hops. Oh, that's amazing. First, and then my uncle told me he was seeing it and it was so good. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I heard about it and Anna's on it, so I have to watch it. Sounds amazing. Cool. So you found it through Anna and your uncle. Ilya says, my son hooked me up. That guy's great taste. I'll give him that. Yeah, your son does have great taste. Jake says, I saw The Spine in a bookstore several years ago and it looked interesting enough to buy the paperback. Cool. So you got in through the books. Tommy says, just felt like a good sci-fi series I can get myself immersed into, and Google search came back with various options, including The Expanse. So yeah, Google's your friend. Jason says, saw the previews before it started on the Sci-Fi channel. I love sci-fi, so I had to give it a go. Been in love with it ever since. So another person who found it through the Sci-Fi channel. Wade St. John says, Adam Savage had a special on Sci-Fi about The Expanse before season 2 aired. His enthusiasm for it was incredible. I binge watched season 1 on Blu-ray shortly thereafter. I've read the books with the same enthusiasm. Can't wait for season 6 and the book 9 in paperback. Wicked. So we had someone who found the show through Adam Savage. That is very, very cool. All right, Shannon. Nice to see you again, Shannon. A coworker at my last job kept saying I'd like the books. After a tough time, I finally bought Leviathan Wakes, and the rest of his is history. Thanks God I worked at a bookstore. Oh, cool. You worked at a bookstore. So yeah, if you work at a bookstore and you're surrounded by sci-fi novels, then The Expanse will definitely be on the shelf. Wicked. I can't believe you found it like that. Cool. Thontor says, I used to watch the Sci-Fi channel all the time back when they showed decent science fiction shows. The Expanse stood out among them. Wicked. That's really cool. All right. So Daniel says, I watched the Templin Institute video on it. I was so intrigued that I searched it up and realized how cool it was. Nice. That's really epic. It's awesome. I'm going to take a little intermission because I'm going to try to get through all of them. All right. Also, if you think I might look a little different, because I shaved my head and my beard. It was just getting a bit too much, and summer is coming soon. Nicole Shook says, my boss who heard it from her uncle. So glad I told her I love sci-fi. Cool. So you heard it from your boss who heard it from your uncles, from her uncle. So I guess it's a like word of mouth sort of thing. Is how you found out about the show. Cool. Andromeda Spark says, I heard about it when the cancellation was announced, checked it out, and waited, hoping stunts like the plane over Amazon and the Rossi model sent to space would save it. The Expanse has the most dedicated fans. Yeah, so one thing I noticed too is that a lot of people first heard about the show once the cancellation was announced and the campaign to try to get it renewed. So that was interesting how a cancellation actually got the show more fans, if that makes sense. AJ Jones says, Twitter of all places. Julian Grimm says, from a screenshot of Avasarala from season 2 I saw on Tumblr, I was instantly hooked. Oh, that's interesting. That's the first we've heard about someone finding out about the show from Tumblr through a screenshot. So Lord Tardy says, a friend who worked in a comic shop recommended it to me. They never steered me in the wrong direction. Oh, interesting. Ennis says, first season was on Netflix over here and I love sci-fi and decided to check it out. That is very awesome. Oh, and she's from Luxembourg, so that's how you found out about it, was Netflix, Luxembourg Netflix. Cool. All right, so Greg says, Netflix wouldn't stop recommending it to me back when it was still carried by them. Netflix just kept spamming you to watch the show until you did, but glad you did watch it. CD says, Leviathan Wakes was nominated for a Hugo Award, and I was a Hugo voter that year. It took me a while after that to read anymore because I hated Holden and Miller, but I heard it was being made into a TV show and liked Leviathan Wakes enough to be interested in seeing how it went. Sean Finnegan says, my coworker, who is a huge sci-fi enthusiast, suggested the book series to me. It would have been the summer of 2019, just before season 4. Less than 5 chapters into Leviathan Wakes, I had the remaining 7 books, and I was totally hooked. Awesome. So that was a word of mouth. So Will says, one night at uni, I decided to get a ton of snacks, good sipping supply of booze, cheers to that, and take an evening to watch something, not worried about the nonsense. It popped on Netflix UK, and I was like, let's try this. I watched 8 episodes. Nice, Will. That's really cool. And Paula heard it from Christina. Nice. Vole182 says, I heard it got canceled. Didn't watch it until COVID hit and was looking for a new show. My wife and I fell in love with it. Just started the book. Philippe Souza says, stumbled across it randomly back on the Sci-Fi days when it was available on Netflix way back then. Cool. So Joel says, IO9. Those articles, they get a lot of attention. So he said he saw a review on it after the first convention screening. Nice. That would have been like at a Comic-Con or something like that. Then he read the first novel. Cool. So Brian says, Amazon Prime, watch all seasons twice and working on third. Being Death/HOH, I pick something new every time I watch it. Cool. That's amazing. So S. Dugs with 3 Z's says, I saw promo art for season 1 on Amazon and watched the trailer. Started watching later that night. So Lex says, I started with the books before the show. Got excited when the trailer season 1, got hooked, never missed an episode after that, still reading the books. That's amazing. So you started with the books. Found it on the streaming place. Okay. That could have been either Netflix or Prime. Strickland says, when Leviathan Wakes was a Hugo finalist, I had to read the first 4 novels and 4 short stories before the show premiered on Sci-Fi. Nice. So you got into it through the books. Sean Kelly says, it was a Skeptic's Guide podcast. They talked about it from time to time as it being really cool and really science-aware science fiction. They also got you hooked on Black Sails. Awesome. So that was a podcast. So A Voice of Reason says, from a friend that highly recommended it after season 1. Now I'm trying to get him to watch past season 3. Oh, so he got you into it, but then now you're trying to get him back into it. So Anna says, my parents watched the first episode on Sci-Fi before it aired, and my mom called me to say I needed to watch it. She was right. That's cool. Fast Cars and Wheels says, saw it on Prime, glad I watched it. Got hooked from the first episode. Tried and true. Amazon Prime. Knights of the Dystopian podcast says, my co-host Ben recommended it about 15 times. Only 15 times? Was that only 15 times? Oh, Wikipedia. Tinned. Interesting. That's the first person that said Wikipedia. My friend loved the book, gave me Leviathan for my birthday. We had similar tastes. Okay, so you got into it through the books. Tier 3.5 says, read the books, then was blown away that the story was televised and how well it was done. Belinda says, was a massive fan of the books, was giddy when the series announced. Nice to see you again, Belinda. Wood says, saw a promo on Sci-Fi Channel about an upcoming series and decided to start reading the books. So some people get into it from books to series or series first and then get into the books afterwards. Justin says, I think sometime during season 1 I saw an article and was hooked. Cool. Dishamish says, bad astronomers tweet. It's early in the first season praising the accuracy of the science in the show. That's awesome. So you found it through Twitter, I guess. Optimum Surf says, Prime when it was first picked up, saw the trailer, binge watched the first 3 seasons 3 times over a couple of viewings, discovered the SF and the incredible community. For me, the best show. Thank you, Ty Daniels and the Expanse. The books now. Yeah, so you're getting into the books now. Show first, books after, but you found it through Prime. Got it. Eric Conorado says, oh, you also heard it through Adam Savage. That's really cool. I was getting super exciting about it around the second season. His enthusiasm almost warrants a look. Before that, I don't think I realized the nature of the show, presuming it was some sort of disposable generic. Was hooked by the Donger. Donger's a great ship, and cool, you found it through Adam Savage. Nice. Crystal says, read the books when they came out, then heard it was going to be a show, so you found it through the books. Very cool. Saw the book on the shelf at a library, was hooked. Awesome. Nice to see you, Gerald. Scott Sunderland, science fiction writer. Nice to see you again. We've met in person before at a Mars convention at the Science Center. They were just doing a showing or a display of some Mars stuff and had a speaker there too. So yeah, nice to see you, Scott. I believe it was a commercial on Space, now CTV Sci-Fi Channel, about halfway through the first season. Yeah, so in Canada, it was on the Space Network. On the Space Channel in Canada. Oh, fuck. I literally just put up this poster and look what's happening. Gotta keep fixing it. If anyone has a good way to keep posters up on the wall without destroying the wall itself, can you please leave it in the comments? So James Whatever says, a friend at a bar mentioned I should read Leviathan Wakes back in 2012 or something. Been along for the fantastic ride ever since. Oh, so you're like true OG, straight up. David says, saw it on YouTube as a free watch for the first episode and was intrigued. Started on the books after finishing season 1 and had to find out what was going on. Blew through all the books waiting for season 2. The show was perfectly casted. That is awesome. So yeah, the first few seasons or the first couple episodes were put on YouTube for free, and I'm so glad that it got David interested in the show. Fly Purdue, is that how you say your name? Says the middle of season 2 branded as the next Battlestar Galactica. From the opening title crawl, I was hooked. Wicked. David Summers says, I heard Sci-Fi was making a show based on a book series, ran out and purchased the book one and read it before it premiered. Now I read lots of sci-fi. Oh, that's awesome. David Summers. Willis says, a Facebook friend mentioned it. I watched the first episode on YouTube. Oh yeah, another YouTube person, or person who saw the first episode on YouTube. Cool. And was hooked. I watched the show 2 times and read some of the books 3 times. So many hours of happiness. Oh, I'm so glad. And wicked. I guess you technically started to get into it through a Facebook friend, but maybe it was thanks to that episode that was released for free on YouTube you got into the show. Like, hardcore. So G says, a friend referred me to the books. Nice. So you heard it through a friend and got into the books. Christina says, flipping through the Space Channel, looking for something to watch. Nice. Oh, Space Channel, Canadian, fellow Canadian, what's up? Must have been an article on IO9 or something like this. When the first seasons aired on Sci-Fi, started catching somewhere in the middle and got stuck to it ever since. My favorite sci-fi show of the past decade. Really cool. Yeah, those articles, again, help. Will says, came home tripping and needed something to watch. So I browsed, stopped the next morning so I could read them first. Wicked, I wonder what you were tripping on. Andre says, I read Leviathan Wakes. Sweet, you got into the book. CT says, through Twitter. B says, heard about Neurotic, that it was the best sci-fi show. Oh, super cool. So he heard it through a fellow YouTuber. Netflix. I thought it looked interesting, so I watched a bit, lost interest at the first episode and decided again, and that was it. Yeah, so, sometimes it doesn't stick the first time around, but, a lot of people say, keep watching it, and you get into it, and yeah, then you're hooked. Mad Max, I was all in from the beginning. True Beltalota. Neil deGrasse Tyson? Huh. Neil deGrasse Tyson said something about it? Z? Artur says, recommendation from Netflix. I got intrigued, so I bought the books too. Cool. MJ says, Netflix. Yeah, actually, I met some people traveling in Mexico that were really into it because they saw it on Netflix. So, yeah, Netflix really helped The Expanse, in my opinion. I think it really did help. So, Kuba says that they heard it from another user on Twitter. Very cool. Jordy says, Netflix, first season in 2016. Cool. Chunky says, flipping channels and caught season 1, episode 3 on Sci-Fi. Got hooked. Went to the Expanse Con and met a lot of screaming firehawks. Love this fandom. Oh, that's amazing. Gabriel Bell says, watched from episode 1 airing. Oh, cool. Oh, Gabriel, I know you. Hey, what's up, Gabriel? That is so cool, man. Yeah, so you were in it from the beginning. Amazing. So Flip and Burn Down My She Shed says, I read the books when IO9 reviewed them. Very cool. So Colin McBride says another Twitter user told him about it. Very cool. Kaza says, during the Save the Expanse campaign, again, a lot of people heard about the show because of Save the Expanse campaign, which is really interesting. Had to order season 1 on Blu-ray to watch it, then ordered all the available books after watching the 2nd or 3rd episode. Alright, so Busty Shackleford says, honestly stumbled across the show around episode 3 or 4, I think, instantly loved it, then got into the books. Wicked. Oh, Fudgy Nugget, nice to see you. I've worked with him for years. It says, was looking for a job and found a family. Oh, okay, so the Space Shipper. Nice to see you, Space Shipper. That poster's driving me crazy. All right, Space Shipper says, found it on an article or on Blast, or I don't know what Blastar is. Raven of Warclaw says, another Twitter user got them hooked on it. Mary says, read the first book and was hooked. Cool. Through the Expanse role-playing community. Oh, cool, yeah. You got to remember, the Expanse started as a like role-playing tabletop RPG. That's actually really cool. T says, a close friend told me about one of his favorite book series was becoming a television series. So I bought the first book, and when I finally read it, I learned it's everything I ever wanted in a series, with a family being a big part of it. With found family being a big part of it, and a big part of me. That is very endearing, T. It was nice to have you in the community. Anna B says, another Twitter user told her. Very cool. Adam Savage, nice. I'm just gonna leave it. So Nadia K says, Twitter feed, nice. So you found it on Twitter. Lisa Dixon says, my brother is in season 5, I think. Your brother's in season 5? What did your brother do on season 5? Maybe he was a BG person in season, maybe he was a background belter in season 5. Cool. Tell me what he did. I'm intrigued. Joseph Phoenix says, Google searched sci-fi shows to watch. Cool. B says, had a couple of mutuals on Twitter who watched it and was intrigued enough to start the show. Very cool, B. Very cool. Crystal, my brother who is a fellow sci-fi fan. Awesome. So you found it through your brother. Kate, Monster who is fully vaxxed. Great. That's awesome. It was through another Twitter user. Awesome. Oh, the same Twitter user. Oh, very cool. Yeah, there's a bit of a chain here of people that were who told each other. Oh, that's awesome. Your mom, thank you. What else did my mom say? Did she give you some good recipes too? She's a great cook. Name cannot be blank. That's funny. I blame the real Steven Stark. Steven Stark, doing great work out here. My guy was doing the audiobooks. So Entertaining Weekly's article on the best show you're not watching. That is so cool. Sometime after the first season came out. Cool. And Daniel said, saw a trailer on Sci-Fi and watched the first season from the beginning. Went and got the books after season 1. Haven't stopped since. That's amazing. Hey, I had a really good time looking at all your responses, and I was pretty interested in how people first found out about the show. If you guys like this video, I think you would also like the Expanse crew dance video that was shot in season 2. So some behind the scenes goodies, and yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys will like that if you like this video especially. So yeah, cheers guys, I had a really good time, and see you on the next one. Peace.